So you're free for the retailer, totally.
Free for the retailers, yeah.
Okay, so you make your money from the brands.
From the brands, and we take a piece of every transaction.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
And you've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
Hey, Dave, good to see you today. Can you tell the audience who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about your background?
Yeah, my name is Dave Pankratz, and I currently live in San Diego, California, but I've been all over California. I lived from Northern California down to here, and yeah, a little bit about me. I'm a twin, so that's always a fun thing to let people know that I'm a twin. So when you see someone walking around who doesn't recognize, doesn't give you the I know who you are.
You're partners with your twin, is that right?
And we are, yeah, we're partners. We started out as womb mates a long time ago.
Literally,
and yeah, literally. And we've been basically business partners essentially our whole lives.
Okay.
From picking our dad's vegetables in the garden and selling them on the street corner. And that's kind of how I got my start in entrepreneurial endeavors and retail, really. That was our very first retail experience. From there, my brother and I owned and operated 4 surf, skate, and snowboard shops on the Central Coast. We grew from 1 store to 4 stores. Got to experience the really awesome 2008 to 2010 kind of bubble there and survived that. And
so we're talking wakeboards, boogie boards, surfboards.
Yeah, surf, skate, snow. Yeah, so everything.
Awesome.
We did actually. Yeah, it was really fun. So again, our backgrounds, my brother and I were never good enough to be pro skateboarders or surfers or snowboarders. So instead of being pros, we decided to sell stuff to everybody. So we were living our passion through retail, quite honestly.
Were you reselling boards or manufacturing boards?
Reselling. So yeah, we worked with all the brands. Yeah. So, and we started our first business. We were 19 when we opened our first skate shop.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
And yeah, fun stuff. Probably caused our dad to lose a little bit of his hair.
Oh, well. That's a good education, opening a business right out of high school. I don't know a better education that you can get.
Yeah, well, we did use our college money to do it, so.
I'm sure that made mom and dad really proud.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. You can give them a call and ask them.
So, grow up, were you taking produce from dad's garden or stealing produce from dad's garden?
No, it was part of our chores was to go and pick the vegetables, and obviously whatever we got to keep a portion of it and go down to the street corner and flag down cars and what
city was that from in?
That was in if you're familiar with the Central Valley, Modesto, California. So
so still California. So you got to grow up. Did you get to grow up by the beach your whole life?
No, so we grew up in Modesto, which is about Santa Cruz was where I learned to surf. So that was about 2.5 hours away, and so but we were always like skateboarders, snowboarders, and then surfing kind of picked up in high school, and then so yeah, I always had to drive to end up living by the beach, and fortunately I do now.
Awesome. Yeah, I love San Diego. It's one of my absolute favorite places to visit in the country. So it's always beautiful. A little chilly in the water for me. But other than that, I love that city. So fantastic. So 19 years old, open skate shops, board shops, whatever, chugging with that. Was it straight from the board shops to Exchange Collective, or was there some middle ground in there that had to that led you to Exchange Collective?
Yeah, it really kind of was. It was the progression. And so, a little bit of the story, we grew from, a single location. Our first business at 19, by the way, it lasted 7 months, that retail store. And then
it's better than most 19-year-olds that open a business.
We like to think so. So, so then in 2000 is when One Way Board Shop, which was the shop that my brother and I took from a single location to 4 locations, and we jumped into the internet and e-commerce just like a lot of people did in the early 2000s. Kind of thought, hey, this is the new frontier, which it is, of course, and experienced all the challenges with that. in the early 2000s, obviously the internet was new. There was probably a little less competition, but all the big guys were figuring out how to be successful there, and Google changed algorithms, and it became very hard to operate an online business. Everyone always says, well, if you have a brick and mortar store, why don't you have an online store? It's so easy. And, you know, the truth is an online business is a whole nother business. You can't just have a brick and mortar store and have an online business. And while we were going through, you know, the trials of the economy growing really fast and then really just dropping out from underneath us, you know, we started experiencing stuff in store where consumers would walk in, and we had 200 shoes, you know, skate shoes on our wall. And a consumer would walk in and be like, hey, I want that shoe, but I want it in a different color. And you're like, I ordered 6 of the colors of that same style. I didn't order the, you know, the one that they wanted. And so we were losing sales to those customers. And so Exchange Collective was really born out of our in-store experience of not wanting to lose a sale to a consumer. And so we actually, you know, just built some prototypes of this idea of where, how can we get all the brands inventory data and product data and be able to sell that shoe very easily without having to do a special order. And so we fumbled around with some things that, you know, we built a sunglass website and populated it with all the vendors' inventory, even though we didn't have it stocked. And the consumer would come in and look for a pair of sunglasses and go, oh, I want those in polarized. And you're like, okay, cool. Order it on a touch screen. We'd run in the back of the shop, call the brand, order up those polarized ones, have it shipped to us, and then send it to the customer.
Right.
So we were just.
But you lose a lot of the margins there, right? Because you don't have the bulk purchasing.
Yep. Yeah. So through that is how the idea of Exchange Collective was born, which was the ability for a retailer to expand their inventory without having to stock the product, but then also on the flip side, giving brands a tool to get more exposure to the end consumer through authentic sales channels. Because you have your big guys, you have your big marketplaces that they have their role, like Amazon and Walmart and all those guys. Like they draw in a ton of customers where the you know, the consumer can find those products. But you have you know, the mom and pop retailer or the authentic retail channel that has a connection to the consumer from a branding experience. And so we wanted a tool that those people can take advantage of that authentic connection to sell products, and giving brands the ability to take advantage of that as well.
Wonderful. So, and retail is not my strong suit by far, right? I say this quite a bit. 5% of my income comes from retail sales, right? Roughly as a whole. So I'm not really good at it. I've always looked at retail for the brick and mortar store of having an online store that just also was another avenue to sell your current inventory, right? Because if you're sitting on inventory, you want to move that inventory quickly. It is really frustrating though when you have a retail store or a specialty. I own a specialty store, so I don't do a lot of retail. But it's always frustrating when you have 200 pairs of something sitting on the shelf and somebody wants a different color that is stocked, right? And you know, I sell boxing gloves, and you sell shoes. I don't sell shoes specifically because it's too hard. It's so hard to stock all those shoes and all the different sizes and all the different colors, right? And boxing shoes come in like 4 different styles, right? There's not that much, but I couldn't even imagine carrying the inventory of all of those different sizes. And I think you would, if I was a retailer, I'd be so depressed all the time that I always made the wrong decision, right? Because it happens nonstop, right? And then you liquidate inventory and it's miserable. I'm not going to go back into a massive retail game anytime soon. And I applaud the people that can pull it off, right? The grocery store owners and all those guys. But so you're giving store owners a way to offer the product that they wouldn't normally offer. The you know, the elephant in the room there to me is the margin is way different. How do you get to keep close to the same margins with your platform, or is it really just, you know, retail in, retail out?
Yeah. So first thing we like to always say, because I was a retailer, is you can't take margin to the bank. So margin sits on your shelf, right? Like, you know, and as a brick and mortar retailer, I was always like, oh, all about margin, there is definitely an importance. I don't want to minimize the importance of margin.
Right.
With our platform, the benefit of it on the retail side is that this is a pure profit transaction. This is a product you never stocked. You didn't ship it to the end consumer. You didn't have to outlay any cash. You don't have any cash sitting on your shelf to sell the product. And so
Right.
even looking at like your retail business selling boxing gloves, like, boxing gloves, you're selling those things. You have a consumer coming there for boxing gloves. Now you have a tool with Exchange Collective, given their boxing shoe company, you would be able to connect with, say, boxing shoe company X and go, hey, look, I'm selling gloves. I'm never going to be able to stock all your shoes,
Right.
but you can sell them through my website. And for you as a retailer, now you're making a pure profit transaction. You're making something without having to outlay any cash,
Right.
and let that cash sit on your shelf. And so, but the margins are pretty close, to be totally honest, like to what a standard, I always talk about things in the keystone, you bought it for $50, you're selling it for 100.
Right.
In our system, but there's costs associated to that, buying it for 100, or buying it for 50, selling it for 100, right? You have your
Well, you're
lights,
tying up your cash, and if you're buying
and you're tying
all
up
these
your
different
cash.
sizes, I mean, a lot of them end up at wholesale. Like
Yeah,
they get
exactly.
sold or given to friends or whatever, right? You never,
or some kid walks out of the store with them.
you seldomly sell out of your inventory. Now, if your margins are right, it doesn't matter, right? I buy 100 t-shirts
Right.
at $4 a piece. I sell them at $20. I don't have to sell that many
Yeah,
to get
right.
my money back. But
You can definitely. So on our standard, again, the margin's always dictated by how much the brand's listing their product in our system, but it varies anywhere between 20 and 30% of the retail price, which in a standard keystone, the retailer thinks they're making 50%, but they have costs associated to that 50%. And so it is.
So your retailers are your products understand the value of having a lot of people going to be buying from them through your application. So they're looking at you as a wholesale client.
Yeah. Brands look at us as, I connect to one entity that then I can facilitate selling on many marketplaces online, or through one
kiosks at a store.
Yeah, or through, which that was our original version, which obviously in our roadmap we'll obviously want to go back to that. But the blue ocean right now, obviously online. COVID really accelerated our business, because at that time, we've been in R&D. I always like to say we started in 2016, but we were doing R&D all the way to 2020 on building things and whatnot. And when COVID hit and everyone shut down, our phones were off the hook for a little while. Like, oh my gosh, I need a website yesterday. Brands, oh my gosh, I need to use your platform to connect to the end consumer. And although that slowed down because stores opened and things happened, it really created an awareness of, especially on the brand side, of going, how important multiple sales channels are, not just my own website, not just Amazon. Those are important, but I need to have all these authentic channels selling and moving my product, because it creates better brand awareness as well. And so that's still hanging on. And as we push the rock up the hill with our platform, as you do as an entrepreneur, we hold on to that message that, hey, brands, like, this is your ability to expand your digital distribution through a meaningful way without alienating your retail channels.
Right. Wonderful. So it's pretty powerful stuff. Now, there's platforms out there like Printful and Printify and all these people that do kind of what you're doing for online sales, but it's all highly customized stuff, right? You're doing that for major brands.
Yeah, we do it for, obviously we started in the surf industry. That's because that's what we knew. So we know a lot of the surf brands. So, brands like Billabong and Quicksilver that utilize our platform, and they're connecting to the retail channels. So, but what's been cool, as we don't do a ton of marketing right now. We're a small, essentially bootstrapped, startup still. We're getting this somewhat natural inbound, people are finding us, and which I always laugh. I'm like, how did you find us? We're not even really marketing yet. And the cool thing with our platform, the way we created it, is a brand can sign up for us. So as an example, we have a brand that operates in not completely out of, but basically out of the action sports. They sell products that would be better off for baseball and football and that sort of thing, sporting goods. that brand can use our platform, and through our platform, they can go invite new sales channels to connect for free. So a retailer, or sales channels, like we like to call them sales channel, they get to connect to our platform for free. So as a brand, they're going, hey, I got this, I can access the existing database of or network of retailers, but I can also invite new ones. And then a retailer can sign up. So, if you had a pet toy company and you're like, this is a great thing, and these are all the 100, pet retailers I want to sell through, all the brand has to do is send an invite. That retailer can sign up for free, connects to their website, and then immediately they can be listing their products. And then the brand segments what products. They can be like, they can have access to these and not these.
Right.
So there's
a retailer today can just go sign up, and you don't charge them there's no out-of-pocket cost to get started for a retailer at all today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no out-of-pocket cost. Yeah, and they get to sign up, request brand access. So brands control, of course. We don't want a gas station signing up and then all of a sudden selling a bunch of surfboard products, and the brands are like, what the heck's going on?
Right. Yeah.
So,
I can see that.
Anyone could sign up and request access, and then a brand gets to go, it's kind of like, Facebook, do I want to be your friend or not? And so then the brand can go, yeah, this looks like a cool sales channel. I'm going to say yes, whether they're an authorized dealer at that point or not.
So the retail guy has an account. He goes, I want to start selling that. He requests access to sell it, and the vendor, the manufacturer says yes or no.
Yep.
Yeah. If they say yes, then you're off to the races, and you have a new product that you can sell with zero risk.
Yeah, zero risk.
Right. Which is should be pretty attractive to a lot of people, right? I tell, a lot of young guys and girls and people like, hey, if you've got an idea, you've got all these resources out here, you can start this business with very, very little risk, and it can be high reward. Unfortunately, sometimes I think if you don't put the risk in, then you don't take the effort to actually get it sold, because you're still eating dinner and you still got your high margin products that are sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that the most expensive part of a transaction at a retail location is getting the person in the door.
Yeah.
Right. And what you're saying is that you got them in the door. Why would you let them leave without getting some kind of sale?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And that was always our mindset as going back to the early 2000s, we had a rule for all of our sales associates, like, do a special order if you have to. Do not let the customer, and which is always, writing it down on paper and then calling the brand. But yeah, absolutely. It's really, what I think is amazing about retail and retailers is you have such an ability to connect with the consumer. And why would you, to your point, lose that connection just because you didn't stock the product? Right. And you only want to sell what's on your shelf. Right? Like, the consumer may not want what's on your shelf.
Right. You got to sell something. And if they walked in the door, I tell my sales team at my boxing school, don't ever let somebody leave with nothing in their hand. If they've walked in the door for the first time and they're going to walk out the door, they better at least have a 2-week free pass in their hand. Right? Yeah. Something. If you got to give it to them, but don't let them leave with nothing. Right. We want some kind of transaction to happen in that moment, even if it's giving them something that could potentially get them back in the door later. So having those resources available to, I can order that and it's pretty quick. Does it show up to the store, or does it go directly to the consumer?
It goes directly to their home. So our integration works to where when the consumer is buying through the retail channels, we wanted the consumer to always feel like that's where they're shopping. And so our system, we grab orders, we send them directly into the brand's back office, ERP systems, or their website, whatever their fulfillment is. As soon as the order is fulfilled, our system grabs tracking, puts it right into the retailer's website. We'll just say their Shopify. And so the consumer is getting an email notification with tracking directly from that same retailer they purchased from. So everything is the retailer. Our system just kind of routes everything through the back end. Again, giving that retailer the ability to keep that relationship with the consumer. There's no kick out to a different website. There's no weird, like, you're receiving a shipping label from somebody, like, who's sending me this? Like,
the distributor does all the pick and pull work, all the warehousing. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Do they label for the individual client, or is it the vendor's label?
It is the vendor's label. Okay. And part of that is just simplicity of it today.
It would be hard for them to do all the different labels for every single, one-off guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
That would be really challenging.
In our roadmap. So.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll figure that piece out. It's a challenge, but it's a challenge that has been figured out in some cases, not a lot, but there are some companies that have that reasonably figured out. Amazon being the biggest.
Obviously, yeah, right.
But really, you're kind of almost giving Amazon type power to the small mom and pop shop.
You hit the nail on the head right there.
They can open up all these new products without the risk of carrying the inventory, which any business owner knows that carrying inventory, unless it turns, or commodity products like socks and stuff like that are really easy to turn around. But when you're talking about, highly subjective artwork, and I would say surfboards are artwork in a lot of ways, right? That it's hard to get somebody to walk in the door and you have the perfect piece for them, right? I would imagine stuff like guitars would be a very similar, the music instruments would be a very similar kind of product that, people want to show their personality with that piece. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool concept that you've got, and you're bootstrapping the whole thing. You've raised a little bit of money, but not a whole lot. Are you paying the bills today? And is this your full-time gig, or you still have to do side hustle and a W-2 job to keep the doors open?
Yeah. So, we've made this our full-time gigs.
Okay.
And, we're able to do it. It's, our entrepreneurial journey has always been one of sacrifice. So yeah, we've definitely sacrificed making the going out and getting the job paying a great paycheck. So that doesn't exist today. But one of the big benefits to that, and what I tell people, if you're listening to this podcast, what am I going to do? And I want to be you're either, you're going to go raise a ton of money and pay yourself a lot, or you're going to marry a woman who will support you emotionally and everything else. And no, fortunately we've had, some, support and people believing in us, going, hey, look, do it. Fortunately my kids, they're all really inexpensive kids. I don't know how we got them. So we've been fortunate enough to still be able to do this full time without having to go get other jobs.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. It's, I can't wait to write the book to show everyone how phenomenal and truly amazing it is that we've done it.
It's a tough call, right? I mean, you can either make less money or work harder. Those are kind of the two buckets of life that you get to live in. And well, obviously the higher risk you take, the better the reward is, but sometimes big risks have no reward, right? Or smaller rewards, but you only need the one.
Yeah. And the other thing I say is I have my co-founder, obviously, is my twin brother, and we have a great relationship. And we both have the mentality, the risk mentality of, look, we believe in what we're doing. Right. And we know that, there's a massive opportunity, just like any business, they could all fail tomorrow. But it is just really having that, the drive and the gut to just go, okay, I'm going to take some punches for sure. Boxing. Right. I'm going to take a bunch of punches, but I'm going to get, and I'm going to go sit in the corner one day, and then I'm going to get up into the next round. Every day it's a new round.
Absolutely.
And some rounds go really, really well for us. But there's days, it's, definitely not going to lie. Like there's days where, you hang your head and you're like, what am I doing?
And not to use too many sports tactics or, phrases, but, in business, we need to get at bats, right? We need to get up on the plate and take swings. How do you, after those bad days, right, where you're hanging your head down, how do you get the energy to walk back up to the plate tomorrow morning, knowing that yesterday you got your ass kicked, and today's a brand new day, and if you take yesterday with you, today's gonna suck too, right? But you got to brush all that off, get back up on that plate, and take another swing.
No,
do you have any tips or tricks on how
it's a good
you
question.
manage that?
Yeah, a couple things that I do. I mean, I don't know if I have any great, tricks that I do, but it's I definitely feel like it's just been my personality in life. Like, okay, I'm just going to get up and go again, right? I'm going to try. I get up the next morning. I mean, today was one. Yesterday was one of those days. It was like, I took a bunch of punches yesterday, and getting up this morning and having a good routine and different outlets. I have I surf, I ride a bike. And there's days where those are hard things to do because I'm taking yesterday with me. But by getting up and actually going and doing some of those things and having those outlets that aren't work, even though maybe I hop on my bike and all I'm thinking about is what I need to do that day. I believe that's really helpful. And then, being really, I have a couple mentors and people I talk to on a regular basis, and people that have said, "Hey, I'm your shoulder to cry on." I don't think you can do it. I don't think the true entrepreneurial journey can be done alone. Whether you have a co-founder, whether you have a great spouse, whether you have a great friend, whatever it might be, you need to have that support system. And I have a few of those that I've been fortunate enough to really kind of latch onto. I have a group of other founders that I go meet with, quarterly, and sometimes it's a happy meeting for everybody, or other times it's just we're all crying together.
Wonderful. I think you nailed it on the head, in my opinion, is outlets and support, right? I have boxing as an outlet. I own a boxing school, but for me, it's really a hobby. My wife runs it. I just show up at, 7:30 at night and goof off for a couple hours and then go home. But then having that support system is so wildly important, right? And you're lucky enough to, you get to work with your brother, your twin brother, which has to be, I don't think I could work with my brothers, but if I had a good relationship with them, I think it would be wildly rewarding to be able to share that with a brother, right? And because in business, you're going to run into things that you don't talk to other people about, and you've got a relationship with somebody that you can talk to anything about.
Yeah, no, we do actually get questioned as we've been raising money here and there, and we're actually actively going out right now. Like, we do get asked that question, like, well, your brothers, like, how is that as found, like almost like it's could be a negative thing that we're family and we're founders. And I'm like, the truth of the matter is, like, I don't know if I could be business partners in a sense with anyone else other than my twin brother. And good and bad, we have a great ability to, and I think that this is what's made our relationship so strong, and why I think on a lot of levels will always be successful, is we can be mad at each other and we can disagree with each other, and it happens, on the regular. But there's also an ability that we've been in business so long together, and we've shared so many, common experiences. And I think, being twins is a very unique thing.
Yes.
If you want to watch a really interesting surf movie about twins, here's shameless plug for some guys I know, 2 by Sea, the Hobgood Brothers. They do a really great job, like, outlining what it's like being a twin.
Okay.
But I do feel extremely fortunate that I have that, support system.
It's
and
huge.
A shoulder to cry on or celebrate with, and someone to fight with, and knowing that I can fight with him, and then the next day we can actually work through that on a business level.
I would imagine that stuff like, some things that you would deal with other people probably come a lot simpler with a twin, like candor, like, hey, you're kind of screwing this up, or hey, you're not holding your end of this bargain right now. It would be easier with a twin brother than it would be with almost anybody else in your life, right?
Oh, definitely on some level, it's a lot easier. And again, we're unique. But we've had so many years together that almost it's even unsaid. Like, those things just don't even get said, because it's just, oh, you're having a bad day, or I'm blowing it for you, kind of a thing. So
I think also you want to lift each other up all the time, right? So that's always. It's easier to put in a lot of effort when somebody else is going to get a benefit out of it than if you're going to get the benefit. At least for me, I don't know why that is. It's a weird mental block. Like, oh, if I'm the only one going to benefit, well, I can do that tomorrow. But if 10 people are going to benefit from my work, I'll do that now. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And you hit on a good point of, like, those people out there looking for co-founders and that sort of thing. It is finding that person that you can see has a mutual desire for your growth as a person, and not just their own.
Right.
And usually I feel like that's pretty obvious to see. And we've had people come and want to work with us, and it was definitely all about them, in the past. And so it's
hard.
Good point you made.
I've done it all the ways. I don't have a twin brother. you know, I've got one of my companies, I have 30 shareholders, which is, you know, so bizarre, especially like this month, right? Because we just got our K1s, and now everybody's chirping about how are things going and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, where were you for the last 12 months? You know, that kind of thing. But, and then, you know, I've launched a bunch of companies with a couple of partners that didn't really work out very well. So my most successful ones are the ones with 30 investors, right? Total. And then when me and my wife tend to partner up on a project, like our school is, we love that. It's, you know, a huge part of our family. So having those really, really close co-founders, I don't know that I would do it again with people I've never met that just wrote big checks. I just don't know that I have it in me to do that again in life, right? Because you're just accountable to so many different people's whims that it's really, really challenging to pick a direction and go that way. So, but you know, congratulations for figuring out a solution that you can work with your family every day. That's got to be really, really rewarding. I know I love it when I get to work with my wife and everything's going well. But when it's not going well, do you feel like maybe sometimes it hurts the relationship with you and your brother?
You know, it definitely puts a little more of a strain.
Right.
You know, but one of the good things, I actually think it's good and bad, right? The good about it is we have gone through some very, very challenging situations as business partners. And I think to the point to where if we were anyone else, we wouldn't be business partners ever again.
Right.
But those challenges, you know, I think have actually made us a little bit more resilient together. But going through those moments when there are the challenges, you know, in the business, and I know how it's affecting me, but then I also know exactly how it's affecting him. And, you know, it is almost feels a little bit more pressure on some level, you know, to where it's like, you know, I don't know if this will sound right, but I can't separate from him.
Right.
You know, we are twins. And, you know, there will, you know,
well, technically you could move to different cities, right? Like that is something that could physically happen. Now, I know that I've got my brothers and I've got all stepbrothers, and, you know, I've had lots of friends that have brothers, and sometimes it gets physical. Has it ever come has it ever gotten to that point with you and your brother?
Yeah, you know, I'll share the story.
Okay.
And it was probably the last time we got physical, and I'm sure Dan's okay with me sharing this. And it goes back to our very first business. And I think that this is probably might even be a catalyst of why we're good business partners. You know, we loved snowboarding so much, right? And, you know, but we had our retail business and it wasn't going well. And I happened to go snowboarding one day. And of course, he was probably mad that he didn't get to go snowboarding. Like I would have exactly been mad that I didn't get to go snowboarding.
Right.
Especially because the business wasn't doing well. And I don't remember what exactly led to it, but I got back and from snowboarding, it was late at night. We were with some friends and something came up about the business. And then it came up that, well, if you wouldn't have gone snowboarding, this next thing you know, it did come to blows.
Okay.
And we were 19, and that was the last time it got really physical. Not to say that we haven't been that mad at each other since,
right?
But I think that was the moment where it was like, whoa, we went too far.
Right. We're brothers. We're running a business. It doesn't need to come to this.
It doesn't need to come to blows. And so, and fortunately, we have a great support system with parents and stuff. And my dad recognized from the outside, like, I need to, you know, these are two kids, you know, we closed the business probably a month later, you know.
Do you think that confrontation was part of closing down that first retail shop to say, hey, we need to mature a little bit more before we can have this kind of responsibility?
Yeah, I think that was it was going to close regardless. I think that was the thing that was like, it's time to close. Yeah. Right. We were 19 and we were, trying to have too much fun while running a business, you know, and not really knowing what we were doing at all in retail at that time. But it was definitely the thing that was like, our dad was like, you guys are closing this business down.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we are.
Yep. Yeah, I walked out. I had a company when I was 19, and I just walked. I put closed on the door, and I walked out. I just never even looked back. And
It was pretty close to that.
Yeah.
We wasn't too far off from like, well, we have a few skateboards left and some clothes. Let's just keep those for ourselves.
Right. So there's a couple of different theories on obtaining success and like all these different kind of almost hippy dippy kind of theories on laws of attraction and things like that. And I subscribe to some of them and not others. But the one is that you get success when you're ready to accept it, right? Do you think that was maybe you guys just weren't ready to have success yet?
Yeah, I think on some level I think there's a lot of truth to that. And actually to follow up on that, I think that, and maybe I think about it a different way, but I think you said it well. When are you ready to receive success, whatever that looks like for you?
Right.
And yeah, at that time we definitely weren't ready for that type of success. And you could look at my life today, and depending on how you look at it, you could say, yes, Dave's very successful. You could say, yeah, he's still looking for success. I think on the same level of that, success is so many different things in your life. And I look at my business. I can't afford to pay myself 7 figures. I'm not a 7-figure CEO, but am I successful in my business? Some people would probably say probably not yet. I would say looking at our history of where we've come from and what we've done, we are very successful. And I share that with my team all the time, because I think success takes looking back at where you came from and where you're at, and you can't, at least I can't, define success by my bank account or where I am at today. I have to look back at where I've come from. And there were points in my life where, my business was doing more than it is doing today, or businesses that I've had of, retail business doing more than my business is today. Was I more successful then than I am now? I wouldn't say so. I look at how we've built this business versus how we built our retail business. And this one to me is so much more successful. Doesn't mean we're going to have ultimate success forever. Who knows, based on what is determined. If you go, well, Elon Musk is successful, am I going to be him? Who knows? But yeah, I'm really excited for the future of our company and what we're doing. And I talk about my brother as part of our company, but quite honestly, I have a team that's absolutely, amazing, because they are bootstrapping this with us. We have employees that are making less than they should be on the open market, but committed to the company. And it's really exciting.
Well, there's an interesting topic, and I'm probably going to push us over now, because you said something that's very time sensitive right now. We're May of 2022. We're post-pandemic. We're in the great resignation, right? If we're not over with it yet, we're in the midst of it. We don't really know what's happening. And, there's companies like yours, and I've got some too, that I know that I have employees that I want to pay more, that they deserve more, and they can go get more. How do you, I guess, one, you got to justify it in your own head, like, hey, this is what the job pays, this is what we can afford to pay, right? And it's not any reflection on the person's actual worth. It's what we can afford to pay this position. But what kind of things do you do inside your company to keep that person engaged with the company and, really on the same kind of mindset as the leaders of the company to, hey, yeah, I understand I could make more money going, over here to this other company, but I wouldn't have X, Y, or Z if I did that. What are some of those X, Y's, and Z's that you guys have?
Yeah, you should probably call my employees and ask them all. No, I'm just kidding. Although it might be a good podcast. One of the things that we try to do is, and I always say it, I'm like, look, you guys own this company as much as I do. Maybe not percentage wise, technically, but my goal is always to try to give anyone who's working with us a sense of ownership in the company, whether it's because they have a few points, which most of our employees have a little equity because that's what we could afford to pay them in. But it is really trying to engage with them and enable them to really build what they are building for our company as their own, right? And grow with that and have say in what's going on. And we're not perfect at it. I'm not the most perfect leader, CEO guy. I definitely, I blow it every day, but I think that that's a mentality that we have, and I think that that might be why they stick around. Either that, or they're just sticking around because they want to just see the show and see how bad this gets. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it really comes down to our culture of just wanting people to have ownership in the company, and drive it themselves. I got off the phone with one of my employees this morning, and we were having a meeting about some things, and the guy's amazing. And it was really like, I was like, look, I'm so thankful you're here because I really want you to own this. And you're showing me that you own it. And it just gives me goosebumps when they're coming to me and their responses are like, as if it's their baby. This is their company.
Right. Hey, let's do this. Or, hey, can we try this? I love it when people are saying, hey, can we try this? Can we do this? Right. And I love it. And I feel like sometimes in my career, I've shot things down really quickly. So people are afraid to bring things to me, and I'm trying to change that about myself. It's a bad habit. But engaging with your person, I think it's you just being a person with them. Yeah.
And that's, one of the things, I like to ask the questions. What do you think? What do you think we should do? How do you think we should do it? Whether I have something in my mind already, which usually I do, that's typically how I am. Like if you've been on meetings with me, I have to bite my tongue sometimes, but that's, we try to leave that space. Like, well, what do you think we should do?
Right.
How should we do this?
How often do you hear crickets when you ask the staff that?
There's times, absolutely. There's times. And in fact, actually, I've been in meetings where almost word for word, they're like, well, I'm trying to tell you what you want to hear. And I'm like, I don't want you to tell me what you think I would do.
That's a huge problem. I have that problem almost every day. I gotta ask them, like, are you telling me what you think I want to hear or what's true? Like, stop assuming what I want and stop trying to give me what I want. I want real. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So
well, that's where I try to come in and go, hey, look, I don't have the answer. Please tell me the answer. Like, tell me how we should do this because I don't have a good idea. And I think that opens it up a little bit. But yeah, there's definitely crickets times in meetings where I'm like, okay, so this is how we're going to do it. I'll get into it a little bit.
And that's your job, right? You got to take the reins and run with it. If there's nobody's got a good idea, it's our job to say, okay, then this is what we're going to do. And we're going to do it until we figure out it works or doesn't work. Right. And then we'll make changes to it as we go.
To another shameless plug, I will say I've adopted a leadership coach, or she's adopted me. And that's been huge. And whether I feel like it's a counseling session or but I'm really learning some stuff, it really creates awareness in yourself. And I think for leaders, being able to be very self-aware about how you're affecting other people is so important. And so I can't take credit that this is just who I am. I've been really working on that with a leadership coach, and she's been super amazing. And if you want to reach out to find out who she is, you can, hit me up through the podcast.
Yeah, I have one as well, right? And and I'll tell you, it's not just changed my business; it's changed my life as a whole, right? And it's so bizarre because, I don't think she's telling me anything I don't already know when I go in there. But I guess that constant reinforcement is what it really does take. And sometimes you got some weird questions that you can go off of. But yeah, having that support. Because being a boss is super simple, right? I was a boss when I was 16 years old at a pizza joint, saying, hey, the pizza's wrong, make it again. But then being a leader is a wildly different ball game where you have, multiple groups that roll up to you. It's challenging, right? And it's something you have to definitely look back into yourself if you want to do it good. Right? You can't,
absolutely.
I guess you could be, just a boss for your whole life. But I have found a ton of joy in learning more about myself and trying to be a better leader on a regular basis.
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%.
It's been a really, really fun ride. And, if anybody out there is in the same boat and they're trying to make this transition from crappy boss to good leader, can't judge your yesterday at all.
Yeah.
you got to drop that. The guy that you were yesterday, you got to kill him. You got to just assume he's dead. And he's gone, and don't judge yourself too much on that, and apologize for anything bad you might have done to people, and hopefully that they forgive you and you move on too. But I think that is really good advice to have a life coach or business coach of some kind. Mentorship, support, all of those things are fantastic. Dave, if somebody wanted to work with you and your team, how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can check out our website, exchangecollective.com. You can email me directly, dave@exchangecollective.com. I'm still the guy to hit up.
Right.
If you want to hit up my twin brother, it's dan@exchangecollective.com. He sounds like me, looks like me. And yeah, we're really excited about our company, obviously, as you can tell. And if there are people listening out there that, whether it's a partnership thing, whether you're a brand, you're a retailer, you're another technology company, we have a passion for this, and we want to grow, and we want other companies to be successful alongside us. So, if you're into that sort of thing, obviously you can hit us up anytime. I'm always down for a good Zoom coffee chat with anybody. So
right. Awesome. And totally free for a retailer. So if you own a storefront, have a website, anything like that, you can join for free. And do you have any offers for manufacturers or distributors?
Yeah, and manufacturers, distributors, we do have a small software as a service cost, but we do offer we're offering 3 months free. So
Fantastic.
You can jump on board. I overuse this crawl, walk, run. Like, jump on board with us. You can crawl, you can test it out, you can, and you have 3 months to do it. And we have, we've brought on some new people onto our team from a customer success perspective, and they're really awesome. And, we are obviously, the cliche, we're only successful if you're successul. It's 100% true. Right?
Absolutely.
Our company is only as successful as the people utilizing our platform. We're not going out and just selling a software that we're going to make a bunch of money off the software and selling it and good luck using it. We are really, we win as people are winning with our platform.
Fantastic. Before we go, do you have anything you'd like to leave for the audience?
No, but I thank you for the time. This is a great conversation. Honestly, it was, you breathed some life into me today. The morning
Wonderful.
Definitely was, it was a challenging start to the day, like a lot of days. And so this was, you breathed some life into me this day, and I'm going to jump into a meeting with my development team, and, I'll hopefully be a little bit better leader now because of this.
Fantastic. I'm glad that I was able to create you any kind of value. And if we created any kind of value for the audience out there, please hit like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if you have a product or service and you want to help get it sold more, reach out to Dave. He'll help you out. Or if you got a retail store and you just want to capture more sales, it'll be a great solution for you. Thanks a lot, folks. See you later.
All right. Thanks.
That's it for today's show, folks. If you'd like to join my text line community, the number is 314-370-2871. All you have to do to join that text line is send me any question about business or technology. I'll do all the research, and I'll give you an absolutely free, totally unbiased answer. Get to work.